as I look to the horizon, not a cloud, I've been storming with a scope too cold. Seems like it crept up out of nowhere, all around you is not what you foretold. You never see it coming. You see that my mind is too fast for your eyes. You're done. By the time you see you, you're not surprised.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News. It's been a hell of a week, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys are all doing well. Yeah, I don't even know where to start. This might have to be broken up into like 3 parts. So, yeah. First things first, shouts out to Doom for just keeping me up to date on all of this. And going back and looking, I was like, you know what, I should report on this, And I'm thinking, there's just so much. It's a cornucopia, a clusterfuck even, of just nonsense that kind of just spearheaded itself into the plethora of nonsense that we have here. It's absolutely amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be like a rough overview, essentially, of what happened over the span of the week, and where it all stemmed from. And then as the videos go on, I think the next video, I'll actually go over the truths that Phil wants, which, that should be funny to talk about in itself. And we'll talk about the aftermath of some of this stuff. First things first, let's just go over what some of the nonsense was, what the situation was. First things first, apparently Kimberly was exposed. I guess her Twitter got hacked or some case of the situation, and she said that she was going to have to go ahead and erase all of her messages and so on and so forth. And then she was going to try to regain her account or start another account. Then come to find out that the website that was associated with her escort business basically imploded. It just disappeared out of nowhere, which was amazing. I wouldn't say that they were trying to erase all traces of her off the internet, but she just slowly but surely disappeared. And obviously, one of the usual suspects, Freddie Boy, was accused of all this. As you guys know, with Brightside Viking, with his nonsense, apparently he actually reached out to Medicare, or to Mr. Medicare. You guys know who he is, the last coolest kid on the internet. And Medicare actually did a tweet on the 16th talking about Phil's nonsense and how 2018 is going to be a hell of a year. Keep in mind on that part, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm going to come back to that later on, if not in this video, in other videos, because I have what Medicare said coincides a little bit with Phil wanting this truth, and it makes me wonder what exactly what Brightside Viking or Vidal Viking is actually up to. We also found out that Phil's mall picture, which I've done a video on that, you guys have seen it, where Phil's walking in the mall with some unidentified young lady at the present moment. We find Phil actually admits that's real. There's actually some tweets that where Phil decided to go ahead and verify that. That's interesting. I think there was someone had actually linked me to a Twitter account on the 16th also. Well, I guess it was like the 16th, just before the 17th, of a Natalie Boss _boss, and she was coming to Kim's defense. This is right before the account, basically, Kimberly's account went down. And shouts out to Raven, also at Raven X or ZX13, for keeping up to date on that nonsense. That was very much appreciated, because that really helped tie the story to that situation. Also, and it gets funnier, to be perfectly honest with you. Almighty Tevin does a video. He did it recently. It was like, I'm recording this on the 19th, so his video must have came out on the 17th, where he was just kind of talking about the situation and so on and so forth. All of a sudden, he ends up catching a strike on his Twitch channel. I don't think he's restricted. I don't think that restricts any of his features on his Twitch channel. I don't know. I just opened up a Twitch channel recently, so I'm not really quite sure if that does or it doesn't. But for harassment, and all he did was read Vidal's and Phil's Twitlongers as it pertains to the whole peace situation and so on and so forth. So apparently somebody salty went after Almighty Tevin, which is bullshit. But poetic justice for Tevin is that apparently Brightside Viking is suspended off of Twitch indefinitely. Wow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that right there is just some of the things that happen. Let's talk a little bit about the Kimberly situation. Let's talk about that fun stuff. So, like I said, I guess she had claimed that she had some problem with her account or something along those lines. And so she had basically done a farewell type of, a couple of farewell tweets about, get people getting involved in the situation and so on and so forth. Something happened on Kiwi Farm with her account where things were starting to look shaky and so on and so forth. Well, that right there really started to pique people's suspicion. Now, granted, people have been suspecting this for a long time, that it was a massive troll. And we've also talked about that here on the show. You know what I'm saying? But it was fun. I got to tell you, as it pertains to this whole Kimberly situation, it was fun. It was entertaining, to be honest with you. It was entertaining as shit. So entertaining, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, that the next couple of videos will more than likely have the tagline of Detractor Ball Super. Now, I know also most of us like to go with Detractor Ball Z. We all love Dragon Ball Z. But we're in 2018. I want to go ahead and I want to establish this to being Detractor Ball Super. Detractor Ball Super. I like that and whatnot. It's kind of a play off Dragon Ball Super. If you guys are fans of that, I am. So that's what we're going to go. We're going to go with. And if you think about it, this whole Escort arc is actually Saga is actually broken up into two parts. We have the actual Escort situation itself, and then we have the war with Kiwi Farms. Now, I have a little bit of a story to tell you guys. So when I first started doing these videos, this will be brief, by the way. When I first started doing videos, the first person I think that reached out to me was Jimmy Triforce. He was the first person that actually told me that, hey man, keep making videos like this. And then after that, other people kind of came through, and that's how Doom started actually being a contributor to the channel, which I very much appreciate. Thank you, Doom, as well as others. And I really got a chance to. You guys have been just very helpful and just been very cool with me as it pertains to these type of videos, these shitty videos, as most people would like to say. But one person stands out. This is the first person that ever sent me a private message. And I distinctly remember what this person said. This person said that no matter what anybody says to me, continue to make these videos because they'll progressively get better and you'll get more and more exposure. That was a nice bit of confidence. But that wasn't the part that was super important. The part that was important was no matter what clusterfuck that comes up around Phil, if it carries over outside of YouTube, Brightside Viking will be behind it in some way, shape, or form. I distinctly remember that, and I was thinking, huh? I was like, wait a second, but Brightside Viking is like Phil's biggest supporter. We all know this. He's his largest whale. Well, at least up till recent. Apparently, Phil has denounced Brightside Viking. I hope that has nothing to do with Brightside Viking losing his job, allegedly. But that's amazing how that came into fruition. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to propose a theory to you that we'll be talking about further over the next 3 videos or so, where it's interesting, and as my time as not only as a fan of Detractors, but as a Padawan Detractor in my own right, I noticed that, have you ever noticed that when some of these big events happen, Brightside Viking is somewhere in between all this? Whether he brings attention to the situation or he's like in knee deep in trying to get shit settled or whatever the case may be. Ladies and gentlemen, there's an interesting theory I'm going to throw at you that's probably complete and utter ludicrous. It's probably ludicrous. Absolute bullshit. What if I told you that some of this, not the actual escort part itself, but some of this was orchestrated by Brightside? Let me explain. Okay, I don't want to make it sound any more menacing than I think it really is. Okay, so and this will actually give me a chance to start from the beginning. So, that'll kind of work. So this whole situation started with Phil's taxes, right? Phil's taxes is what started this. This moron, this idiot, decided to go ahead and pull tax evasion, gets caught, essentially, you know what I mean, by whatever troll or detractor or whoever else that decided to contact Seattle, Washington, and let them know. And he gets caught in this tax situation. Now, in truth, Phil owes his life to whoever it was that ratted him out. Actually, I won't even say it ratted him out, but whoever alerted the authorities. The reason why is because just like with Laveria Media, if Phil got in too deep, he'd have been screwed. Same thing with his tax situation. 3 years, he owes what? $2,000? He might have owed $3,000 in back taxes, possibly. I don't know exactly for sure, but let's say he owed 3 stacks, and he got the money to do it. But that was over 3 years. What if it had been 10 years, ladies and gentlemen? What would have happened if, well, let's say 7 years. Let's say 10 years. Someone did him a favor by letting this all out, you know what I mean, when they did. Phil owes his life in that house to them, to be perfectly honest with you. This situation started over taxes. As a byproduct of that, Phil has to exploit the people around him, so he brought this new girlfriend situation in. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I want to point this out, that just because it's been proven now that the escort situation was bullshit. It was a troll. It was an entertaining troll at first, and then it turned out to be total bullshit. We'll get into that in a minute. Because the girlfriend, just because the escort thing has been brought to light, doesn't mean that the girlfriend situation still isn't bullshit. Now, here's the thing about that I've been proposing since I've reported on this whole girlfriend situation. If she's real, she's screwed. And I'm sorry to say that, but you're just gonna fall into the same situation as the young lady before you. That's Panda. Hi, Panda. And I'll see you for dinner on next Thursday. Thank you for moving dinner from Tuesday to Thursday, because Thursday would just be the better night for me. Appreciate that. Anyway, you're just gonna you're just filling in another spot. You're gonna be taking care of a 36-year-old man who just recently figured out how to use a washer and dryer. What? It takes him 4 hours to clean the upstairs? He should have just taken that whole day off and cleaned the whole house. This is the same idiot who, when his parents came to visit him, which is funny how he hasn't returned the favor on that, but his parents come to visit him, and he only cleans up the rooms that he knows they're going to frequent in. Instead of, I don't know, doing what a normal person would have done and just clean the whole house. Maybe. I don't understand. But whatever. I just don't understand. You're just a maid. You're just going to be a maid. And you're going to have to get a job too. So, you're going to be his mom, you're going to be his maid, you're going to be his personal cook. Hell, you might even have to wipe his ass. I'm sorry. And I don't know how much how much bedroom time you're going to get with him, being that he likes to stay up and do gin and tonic every other night. But I assume it's going to be rather limp for you. So that's going to suck. But don't worry. Don't worry. There are people around that you can go ahead and get in contact with, and I'm sure they're going to help you out. I mean, if you're the redhead. If you're the one that was walking through the mall, I don't know what the situation is with that. But that's neither here nor there. We'll have to wait and see how Godzilla decides to handle that one. Anyway, so he has the tax problem because he's an idiot. That tax problem causes him to exploit the girlfriend, which made a nice chunk of change. Hashtag save the house. And from that, the house situation and the amount of money spirals Kimberly. Now, Kimberly, we find out, is actually just a hacked account of a young lady who, I guess, had a social media presence for a little while. Nothing serious. And I guess she decided to have a family, and she basically gave all that up, which is understandable. And then, all of a sudden, her account gets hacked or taken over in some way, shape, or form, and laid in wait for 6+ years to get us up to the situation. Now, behind that particular situation with this hacked account is a couple actually of professional scammers, professional con artists. Woo! Isn't that impressive? with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, come to find out, they were the ones that were actually behind the whole Kimberly persona. Now, what is the end game of all this? It's hard to say. Some people say it was extortion. It was a way of pulling money out of Phil once they could basically get them in a little too deep. And the good people on Reddit as well as Kiwi forums basically hunted this shit down when the story started to get a little bit more traction about the escort, about Phil's escort situation. When that started to circulate over there to Reddit and Kiwi forums, that's when shit kind of got real and people started to investigate. That's how we found out that the young lady that's in those pictures, who is, I don't think her real name's Kimberly, it's something else, I'm sorry. When someone who knew her actually was like, huh? Let her know what the situation is, and then contacts Phil and says, hey, this chick, this girl, I know her, and she's not an escort, and yada, yada, yada. Phil takes this situation as, oh, this is his great victory, and decides to go ahead and make a video about it, or he talks about it in a pre-stream. Now, if Phil did anything right, he didn't gloat about it. You know what I mean? He did not gloat. And the reason why, and that leads into Phil wanting to go into this peace offering situation. Well, it's not even a peace offering. He wants to extend the olive branch. He wants basically this type of shit to stop. Now, ladies and gentlemen, given this situation, given this couple, okay, that lives somewhere in Europe, the fact that this is they've had control of the account for allegedly about 6 years, and this is quite the con. This was something that took a little bit of time. Now, were they directly targeting Phil? I don't know. That's hard to say. Their timing was pretty good. Their timing was very, very good as to make all of this happen. And but the problem is they ended up getting exposed. How they got exposed was actually quite rather interesting in its own right. Okay, so this couple here that basically who were the ones who came up with this little con situation, which was originally blamed on Freddy Boy. Originally, people thought it was Freddy Boy's revenge, which would have been actually pretty fascinating, but it wasn't Fred. That doesn't mean that something isn't cooking. It just means it wasn't Fred. When this situation actually kind of came to light, the great the great internet detectives put all this together. First things first, let's talk about how the mother got exposed here. All right, so apparently she's 32, mother of 3. She's bi, so she likes her cake and eats it too. Good for her. Now it says right here that apparently she had a Twitter account called Slut Farms, or Slut Farmers. Ooh, isn't that provocative? And apparently she was doing a little bit of back and forth with somebody else. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after 3 kids, I would assume that's quite the hole to fill. And with that being said, in Phil's alleged size, you can kind of see why there are a couple of pictures of her circulating online, at least of who this person really is, who Kimberly, quote unquote, really is, laying on her bed with a bunch of children toys. And ladies and gentlemen, they are children's toys, at least some of them. A child's baseball bat being inserted in, rather deep. I mean, you know, after a while, the walls just kind of just move on their own. Also, as well as a plastic golf club, a cucumber, and various other adult toys. Oh my god. Oh boy. Her husband, yo, her husband, who's also part of the con, apparently, is, I'll have his picture in here. I don't know, actually, I'm not sure if I really want to do that. It's just some balding dude and whatnot, giving the thumbs up. And then they have their daughter, who is, actually, she's alright. That's all I really got to say about that. She's kind of pretty. It's kind of, you know, and, that's pretty much it. Basically, the internet detectives exposed all of that shit. Now, let's jump back to the mom real quick, because she's the one who we think was doing all the talking for Kimberly. I gotta tell you, miss, the fact that you sent this picture out to somebody, and off the strength, off the muscle of that green baseball bat driven into your pussy. Someone realized that something was a bit off. Oh my god, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm sorry, guys. I cannot put this picture in the video. You will have to go to the hyperbolic time chamber to find that. You guys know what that is. And if you don't, it's Kiwi Farms. That's the hyperbolic time chamber. So whenever I refer to that in future videos, then you know where to go. I might even be nice enough to put a link to this thread in the description. But you guys can go there and check all the silly shit out. At the current time, it's up to about 28 pages. First page basically breaks down everything. Oh my gosh. I kind of like the fact that I like the persona of Kim beforehand. This right here is just funny. Really, really funny. Jesus Christ. She damn near has that baseball bat all the way up to the handle. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and move on from that. So anyway, that's the Kimberly situation, basically in a short wrap up. Basically, it was a hacked account that lay dormant for about 6+ years, which was clever that they took an account that had been around that long to give it longevity. And I guess people have dead accounts on Twitter a lot. How did they actually get in? That's not necessarily, or it's not exclusively expressed on how they did it. But basically, this couple laid in wait, and once they got in, they targeted Phil because of the attention that he had. It seems like. Now, this was supposed to be a long con, so eventually they were trying to get some real money out of him. But the internet, the internet detectives end up squeaking them out, and they have all their information. We have the oldest daughter's information. Her name's Jennifer. We have the wife. We got her voice. We got some shit archived of her. And there's various pictures if you guys are willing to look at them, and as well as the husband. And got all of their information. Got phone numbers. Got it all. It's all here. Fax, email. Jesus Christ, the internet is not the place to piss off. Got it all. Now, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much the actual true ending to Kimberly. Now, and yet again, thank you Doom for sending me all the links to this stuff. But let me talk about something a little bit more fascinating also. Let's see here. A new mystery woman had popped up just before we found out the information of this about this husband-wife con team. And it was the new mystery woman, the son of the first Falcon. Now, we don't know if Freddy Boy had anything to do with this. I don't think he did. I think it was somebody else trolling and whatnot and tied his name to it. Which, yet again, at the time, people were suspecting that Freddy Boy was behind all this anyway. So in turn, it kind of made sense to kind of tie it all together. It's just kind of one of the things that happens when the internet kind of gets itself into a bit of a tiz. Very interesting nonetheless. Very interesting nonetheless. This whole escort situation was entertaining as fuck. I don't care what anybody really has to say about anything, as if you were here for the lulz, if you were here for the laughs, then that's what we got. And it was great. I gotta say, it was entertaining. It was entertaining as hell. You know what I mean? It was fun on a day-by-day basis to see what was going to pop out of this. It was fun. That's all I have to say. Like I said, I'm giving you guys kind of like the short and short of it, but it's enough to kind of bring it all together. Excuse me. Like I said, I might put that forum post in my description, or if someone wants to leave it down in the comment section, by all means. If by chance that your comment is removed because it's pushed into spam or whatever, I'll approve it and let it go back up. I might put it in my description box though. You guys take a look at that shit for yourself. Jesus Christ, that shit is funny as hell. How they got caught was even funnier. Now, let's talk about the aftermath of the actual escort situation. Phil wants to extend an olive branch. He wants to go ahead and basically make amends. He's like, hey guys, this has gone a little too far, and I'd like it to stop. You know what I mean? If you guys want to make fun of me, you guys want to shit on me because I'm a bad Let's Player, you guys want to make fun of my little quirks, and stuff like that, you're more than welcome to. But this stuff right here is just out of hand. I'm getting too old. I don't want to have to bother with it. And talks about extending the olive branch. There are 2 videos out, one by Snorpernell and one by Mr. Stuffs. I'll go over those in the next video, and we'll talk about that further. As it pertains to the olive branch, I've heard a couple of different things. I've heard people being like, you're extending an olive branch to us to prove what? It doesn't do anything for any of us. So who cares? You know what I'm saying? And in truth, there is nothing in there for the detractors or the haters or anything like that. It benefits him more than anybody else. Now, why do you even feel, and this is talking directly to Phil, why do you even feel the need to extend an olive branch to anybody? Like, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. This isn't going to make anybody stop at the end of the day. As long as you keep doing stupid shit, as long as you keep treating people poorly, as long as you keep lying to people, I'm going to keep shitting on you. Just as any other detractor. Now, all of this right here that happened with the escort situation and this, that, and the third, that was for the laughs. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it was. It was entertaining as hell, and I'm glad it happened. Brightside Viking going off on the hinge, though, that's your fault. You should have reeled that shit in. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That ain't got nothing to do with fucking Brunel. That ain't got shit to do with Almighty Tevin or Theo or Argent or any of the older or even the OGs of the detractor community. That's your boy. You need to go ahead and handle that shit. That has nothing to do with us. And it damn sure had nothing to do with your community, sadly enough, that they ended up having to take the fall for it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what happened on Phil's side of it. Let's talk about Brightside Viking. Okay, so Brightside of Vidal Viking, actually, interestingly enough, if it wasn't for him going off on a tizzy, then this probably wouldn't have came out. Now, here's the thing. There is actually, I'm trying to think if I can find the post. If I can, I'll put it in the video, where someone actually pointed this out, where if you think about it, and it's true, if you think about it, if it wasn't for Brightside going off on a fucking tizzy like this may have never have came to light. Now, granted, none of this story wasn't actually hurting Phil. You got to understand, this whole escort situation was not hurting Phil, but Brightside going off and doing his silly shit was. So, in turn, it's fair to say that Brightside took quite the risk doing what he did. But in turn, it did expose the situation. Now, could he have stirred up the hornet's nest? Could he have, pissed inside the milk without having to threat a man, his wife, and his child's life? Yeah, he probably could have. And it's funny enough that he has gotten thrown off Twitch for, guess what? Threatening somebody. Harassing people. I'm sorry, I thought he was innocent. He obviously wasn't. If you had people like, what's his name? When you had guys like King Juzzle who was like, hey, can you guys please do a cease and desist? Stop fucking with Kiwi Farms, leave this shit alone. Which also, ironically enough, because of Brightside and his death threats and other things, led to him threatening apparently the wrong people, which in turn were like, we're going to let the harvest go. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I already did a video on the harvest, so let's go ahead and just make this quick. Basically, Brightside went ahead and done fucked with the wrong people, and they were like, okay, then if Phil doesn't denounce you, then we're gonna basically let the hounds out on everybody that's associated with your forums. Phil, being Phil, instead of being a man and being like, okay, conceding to what he already ended up doing a couple of days later anyway, he decides to go ahead and save the piggy bank and is like, I didn't see anything, I don't know nothing, fuck you. Okay. So Kiwi Farms was like, go ahead, release the hounds. And we had a victim. Now, some people say there was 3 victims, some people say there were 1. To be honest with you, there shouldn't have been any. Phil should have went ahead and done the right thing. Now, I understand that some people, or one person in my comment section was like, hey man, Phil can't be responsible for the people who are in his community. It's a bit unreasonable to say that. You kind of were sounding SJW with it. I can see why you would say that and whatnot. So don't be wrong, man. I'm not trying to shit on you. I respect your opinion. At the same time, though, this is Phil's number 1 gunner. And are you telling me that Brightside doesn't sit there and report to Phil on the shit that he does? This is Phil. This man right here has circulated his life around protecting him at all costs from people foreign and domestic. This is what he does. So the fact that it's not as easy as Phil just being like, oh, I didn't know what was going on. Of course Phil knew what was going on. I'm sure Phil was smart enough, maybe not, actually, I'm giving him too much credit, to sit there and say, hey, man, keep me out of this. I don't want no parts of this. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that this shit doesn't get linked back to me. But it's very fair to say that Phil had to have known something. So when a threat was made to Phil, he should have been like, all right, he should have reeled his dog back in and been like, all right, we need to chill for a minute. And let's be honest, Vidal has a bunch of fucking sock accounts. So in truth, denounce him publicly, and then just keep the situation moving. You want to know why? Because Phil's inner circle already knows what the situation is going to be. In truth, it didn't hurt Phil by just going ahead and coming out and saying it. It didn't hurt him at all. It wouldn't have, I should say. But Phil says though, oh well, they're not gonna tell me what to do. They're not gonna extort me. I'm gonna do what I want. Next thing you know, that dude falls. When this person falls, then all of a sudden Phil comes out and is like, oh well, you know, it was his fault. Who told him to go over there to those detractor channels or those detractor forums and go ahead and posting over there? Who told him to go over there and try to defend me over there on Kiwi forums or on Twitter or anything like that? I never asked for any of that. I didn't do any of that. I didn't ask for him to stick his neck out for me. He did that at his own discretion. That's his fault. Now, as you said, you know, and like I said, I'm going to address that initial comment, not the actual person, because like I said, I respect your comment. But as was said, hey, he can't control what people do outside of, you know, in his community. Yet he sent some of these same people to go after people. He sent some of these same people to go ahead and flood PSN accounts, to sit there and shit on people on Twitter, to shit on other people on their Twitch streams. Almighty Tevin can contest to that. So saying that he's not responsible for other people's actions outside of his community is one thing. But when he has a history of telling some of these same people to go out there and attack his detractors, his haters, his trolls is another. And that right there is kind of the point that I was trying to make. That was the problem. Now, with that being said, Phil is basically like, hey, stay away from there. You're perfectly safe on my account. And Phil, doing Phil, blatantly lied and said that I have none of your guys' information on my forums except for your email address. Oh, I'm sorry. Then we go back to the curious case, which leads into a much bigger situation that I'm not going to get into. But we goes back to the curious case of a guy named B Awesome One. B Awesome One had the essential lore behind it. You guys should go to Tevin because he's much better at telling the story. But basically what happened was B Awesome One did some fan art for him, and allegedly, and he flagged one of them. That flagging right there caused flagged a video, I should say, that had the fan art in it. That shit right there, that's all he did, essentially. The effect of that was Phil decided to go ahead and delete something like 400 to 600 videos and basically wipe 3 million views off his fucking channel. Now, Phil, to this very day, contests that Machinima and YouTube told him to do that. Now, let's talk about that for a little bit. You really think Machinima would be dumb enough to tell one of their partner channels, as small as he was at that time, but one of his partner channels to go ahead and delete X amount of videos and delete 3 million views? Does that sound right to you? Does that make sense to you? No. Machinima saw the copyright strike and they were like, let us handle it. And that's all he had to do. But if you remember those videos from back in those days, Almighty Tevin, for example, went over a bunch of them. He's in full panic mode. No. I can't do this, man. This is my business. This is my livelihood. DSP gaming is my bread and butter. And if this shit goes down, I'm going to lose everything. So I have to go ahead and do this. He is so reactive that he can't think. And because he can't think, he screwed himself. And till this very day, he sits there and blames all of these other people for his problems. Now, whatever you think about B Awesome One going ahead and flagging that video is one thing. But guess what? He didn't sit there and flag or report 400 plus videos. He didn't put Phil into a situation where Phil had to panic and delete all those videos. Phil did that. Now, you could say that, hey, if he didn't do it, then Phil wouldn't have reacted. Somebody who is a bit more level-headed would have just let Machinima do their damn job. They're the ones that were really making off with the money anyway. They were the ones who were really getting the best out of Phil. So Phil should have shut up and let them do their damn job. Which ends up coming full circle a couple years later when Phil ends up getting fired from them. There was no mutual breakup. These people Phil goes to them, let me give you a little bit of that lore. Basically, ad apocalypse happened. And shit was hitting the fan. Phil was making less money. Wham, wham, wham. Now, instead of Phil doing what most people would do, where, I don't know, go off and do something else, like Twitch, which is what he ended up doing anyway, and just keeping his mouth shut and just get back on Twitch, put some work in. He's going to get his partnered account back. Almighty Tevin's already talked about that. Basically, how that works is if you're partnered on Twitch, which is kind of hard to do, but if you can get partnered on Twitch, like, you know, like a full partnership, so to speak, you keep that partnership. Unless you violate their terms of service and they remove that from you, unless they take that partnership from you, it's yours. Now, like I said, Almighty Tevin is probably one of the people you should go for this, for that type of information, because he knows. But the partnership, but from what I took from what he said, the partnership, as long as you don't do anything to violate terms to cause them to take it from you, it's yours. Even if you temporarily, you know, close your account, or you deactivate your account, I should say, not erase it, but you temporarily deactivate it, like Phil did a couple years ago, previous and whatnot. He can come back. His account's still there. All he has to do is reactivate it, and then he can ask them, "Hey, can you reactivate my partnership?" Which they did. It wasn't a process or anything. He asked, and after a couple of days, it came back up. So if Phil would have just gone to that, which is what he ended up doing anyway, he'd have been fine. His back catalog, as you guys know know that I've said before, would have been protected. Now, is he going to get away with the Nintendo stuff? I couldn't tell you for sure. But a lot of his old playthroughs that were hit later on when he went to Curse, they'd have been fine. They'd have been fine. Now, granted, yeah, he would have made less money per video, so to speak, but then he would be making more money in the long run because he has all of these videos. He has something like almost 50,000 goddamn videos that are all making money in some way, shape, or form. He would have been protected under that managed partnership. Now, this is one of the traits of Phil, that he doesn't appreciate what he has until he loses it. He's sitting here worrying about some chump change. And let's be honest with you, it was chump change is what he was worried about. As it pertains, because he's not going to disclose how much money he actually wasn't making. So I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that he's sitting there complaining about he's complaining about small money, when his managed partnership was worth more than that. And by him going to Twitch, which is what he ended up doing anyway, and continuing to flood YouTube, not only would he still be relevant in the search, who could say what would have happened with KO Gaming? More importantly than that, he'd be making money hand over fist. If he made $46,000-$47,000 last year with Curse, how much would he made with Machinima with all of his videos being monetized and still being in good standings? Think about that for just a second. I didn't mean so sarcastic at the end. Think about that. That's where Phil's real money was, but he wasn't smart enough to realize it. He sat there and sucked Machinima off year in, year out, sat there and put himself on this pedestal about, oh, my managed partnership, this, that, and the third. And at the end of the day, he didn't even value that. He didn't care. He was looking at this little bit of money that he didn't have at the time and went off on a tantrum and then lost all of that. So now his fan base is the new Machinima. I need you guys' support. I need you guys' help. His streams are the 1-800 number. The only difference is there ain't no pretty hoes there. That's what the situation is with him now. He's a full-blown Twitch slut. And sadly, there's just no payoff. Well, at least not for anybody else. That's what Phil is now. That's what the legacy of him is now. Machinima wouldn't have dropped him. He's still making the money. They can just keep cutting his pay over and over and over and over again. And even people question that, if they really cut him as much as they said he did. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to get into that because I don't have enough proof on that. So there you go. Anyway, that was for some of the lore. So now here's the interesting thing about this whole, as it pertains to where were we at when I went off on that tantrum? Okay, that's when he should have reeled Brightside in. He should have reeled Brightside in when he did all those threats. Okay, and then he was blaming the people on his forums and told them that they were perfectly safe. Basically, his forum basically went into damn near full implosion, and they were like, hey, we're not safe here, you know, please do something, please do something. The mods were even like, hey, you got to do something, you got to do something, you got to do something, Phil. Phil so sat there with his fingers in his ears, la 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 la, until something set him off. Then, as you know, we just went over it, the Kimberly situation broke. He thought he had a good footing, and he asked for a ceasefire. Well, and he asks that let there be a truce. Now, as this goes on, because of now that's when Medicare ends up putting out his tweet, and Medicare tweets a lot, so it is what it is. But he ends up putting out his tweet on 2018 is going to be a hell of a year, given how the year has already started for Phil. You go further down into those tweets, you find that Brightside Viking had been talking to him a little bit, a couple times, a little bit back and forth. I didn't read into it too much. This right here propels into it kind of helps strengthen this theory that actually, it's funny to even say it, but I'm going to say it anyway, that Brightside Viking is actually a detractor. Because it's almost like, what is that condition called? Munchausen. Is it Munchausen syndrome by proxy? I think it's called I think it's called that. Munchausen. I can't think of what it's called. I think it's called that. Basically what it is it's also known as the angel of death syndrome. Basically what it is it's a psychological type of psychological disorder where basically, I'm going to use the example of nurses because that's the best example because that's where you see it, where a nurse will purposely put a patient in harm's way and overdosing them on medication, for example. That's probably one of the best examples. It goes ahead and causes like a red alert, and then they swoop in for the save because they were the ones who perpetuated the situation, so they know how to bring them out, and they get like a thrill off of the acclaim that they get. But it's not even about that, as most people who are women, not trying to throw anybody on the bus, I'm just saying, they're not all women, but most of them have even said when they're convicted, it wasn't even about the praise. It was about it was almost about the adrenaline rush with the stress of the situation, and everybody's kind of looking at you when you say, I can handle this, I know what it is, allow me. That's what they were getting off on. And some people say that that's probably this could be what Vidal's situation is. It's funny how one of these big ass situations like this break out, and then Vidal's the one to kind of swoop in for the save in some way, shape, or form. Now, granted, to get yourself taken off Twitter, or not Twitter, off Twitch, and for you to sit there and have a whole website, like a whole website was after him. There's only a couple of guys who you ain't sat there and fucked around and did the wrong thing too, come after you, validates saving Phil. But at the end of the day, it's fair to say that if it wasn't for Brightside, none of this would have gotten exposed. So there you go. It's it's quite entertaining. So this was what perpetuated the whole situation. All this because Phil was an idiot and wouldn't pay his damn taxes led into all of this nonsense. And then, like I said, now if word around the campfire is true, Phil has completely cut Brightside off. He doesn't want no parts of him, allegedly. I mean, take of that from what you will. Let's see here. Let's go to Dragon Killer, because he's one of my most reliable sources for information. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like at least that's what it seems like. It seems like Phil has completely cut Brightside off. Jesus Christ. And then also too, not to mention KG, who's another longtime Phil supporter. Then he ended up becoming a hater of his. He still frequents around Phil. He's still on his forums and stuff like that. Apparently, Phil threw him under the bus too for this whole situation with the whole doxing situation, which makes no sense. But then again, KG was one of the guys, I think, that was grilling Kimberly early on and trying to get information. Somehow that came back on him, and he ended up being the patsy. So, congratulations for becoming Lee Harvey Oswald for a little while. Good for you. At least you're alive, though. So there you go on that, man. This whole saga broken up into 2 arcs, was entertaining to say the least. And at the end of the day, what did Phil get out of this? If you think about it, he might, like I said, if he still has a girlfriend, she's screwed. If it's a lie, it was a cash grab, and sadly, people still, most of his viewership will still stay by his side either way. It is what it is. I can't even express that any more than what it is, I should say. But now you ain't lost Brightside. You ain't sat there and given this guy up. You ain't giving KG up. Your fucking website has been exposed because you lied to people and said that you didn't have their doxing, that you didn't have their IP information when you really did. My bad. That's what I actually forgot. Phil said that his forum doesn't have any access to people's IPs, but he does, because that's how he got on Be Awesomeone's information. He got it off of his forum. So he blatantly lied and told the people of his fan base that they were safe and they weren't. What are you doing? So it is what it is there. I haven't seen really anybody actually call him out for that outside of myself, Snorpernell. Well, no, a few people have actually. I'm lying. I'm sorry. A few people actually called him out on that. But I don't see really anybody in his community holding Phil responsible for that, as they should. And if you ever have gone to any one of Phil's multiplayer events, ask what kind of information they ask for that Phil demands from people who participate in that, especially if he doesn't know you. He pretty much runs background checks on your ass. The hell? Like, is this really necessary? No, it's not. But it is what it is. So, yet again, Phil has put himself in a situation for a few bucks. Not to be super disrespectful, but for a little bit of money, and look what he lost. He lost way more than he ever gained. And then, but most of you might be like, well, does it really matter? His girlfriend's coming. Sadly, if she really does exist, then yeah, she's going to pick up for where Brightside left off. She's going to pick up all of his chores. She's going to have to get a job, because Phil's already said that. And she's going to do all the cooking, cleaning, and everything else. Phil said he'll do laundry. But when Phil says that he's going to do laundry, what he means is he's going to do his laundry. At least for the first couple of weeks. And then guess what? Oh, well, I'm getting ready to hold this stream, and this is really serious, and it's for my business. I'm really trying to get my business back off the ground. So I'm going to need you to go ahead and take up the laundry. Yeah, and make sure Din Din's on the table at 7, okay? Great. And then there you go. So, I mean, I know some people have said, what type of state that she might be in. Not actual physical state, because the fact that they need to buy her brand new clothes just to move from wherever she's moving to Seattle? Huh? Are you telling me she doesn't have any decently warm clothes at all? You know what I mean? Like, where is she coming from? Where did you find her? Another thing that should be pointed out is you found Leanna from your fan base. So essentially you just went back to the well again. How old is she? What kind of life experience does she have? Why would anybody want to pick up and leave wherever they're at to go with you? Especially if she has a job that can help contribute to the mortgages, because there's more than one. I'm not sure if she knows that, but there's more than one mortgage. How much money is she looking to throw out? And if she has a really good job, if she has a career, Phil, then what the hell does she need you for? That just doesn't make any sense. And then this convenient plot, then as it pertains to the girlfriend situation, this convenient plot about, oh, well, she has to move out, you know what I'm saying? Because her lease is up at the house that she's at. What was that snicker for? That's not, why don't she just get another place around the way? Just like Almighty Tevin said, and then wait and see how this DSP thing relationship works out. He's so desperate to get her in there and basically pick up where the last maid left off that he doesn't care about nothing else. And the more and more you hear him talk about her, it's only about what she's going to provide. It's not about us as a couple. That whole soulmate thing was laughable at best and egregious and fucking disgusting at worst. Excuse me. What's to come out of this at all, in any type of way, shape, or form? Ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much the saga from beginning to end, plus or minus some stuff that I didn't write down. But that's what the situation is. We're going to get into this Olive Branch situation in the next video because I'm anxious to hear what he has to say. And then after that, I'll give you my final thoughts about the whole situation in general. Somebody on Twitter asked, do you think that a Medicare video will come out? I don't know. Maybe. I couldn't tell you, though. You should just ask Medicare on Twitter. Seems like a pretty cool guy. I think he'll answer you. He gets a lot of tweets, but I'm sure if he sees it, I'm sure he'll answer you. So you could ask him. I don't know. He just came off of that whole Kraut and T situation, and then there's that situation with Sargon, who it sounds like he knew way more than what he was letting on, but that's neither here nor there, so I'm going to leave that part alone. But I don't know. It'll be, obviously, if it's Medicare that's doing it, it's just going to be godlike. So look forward to that if it one ever comes out. Tevin catching that strike on Twitch. Hopefully it gets removed. That's really shitty that anybody would do that just because he's reading a tweet longer. That's kind of shitty, to be honest with you. But that's neither here nor there. Hopefully that gets removed. Like I said, the picture in the mall with Phil walking with that girl, that was Phil. So I'm glad he admitted that. I'm going to see if I can try to find that tweet to prove that. I'm going to try to. And the thing on Kiwi Farms now, it's not a big deal. Everybody's kind of just laughing at it and moving away from it, is this whole Sons of the First Falcon. I wonder what that's going to be about. Ow. I'm not sure what that situation is going to be about, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. And lastly, this is a question to all of you. Did Brightside Viking do this on purpose? Did he purposely put the death threat out there to expose the escort? It looks that way. And, well, I wouldn't say it looks that way, but if it was the case, it worked. If that's really what his intention was, it worked out. But do you guys think that's what his plan was? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm very sorry that I didn't kind of report on this right away. There was just so much, to be honest with you, and I didn't know if you guys wanted like multiple videos like that. So if the next big situation really draws my interest, then maybe I'll actually try to be on it. But we'll see. Like I said, thank you to Doom, and thank you to everybody else who was keeping me up to date. Doom especially, because he was definitely giving me like at least every 12 hours he was giving me an update on this, and I very much appreciate it because it helped bring the story together. Like I said, there's some little things here and there that I left out. To be honest with you, by all means, go to the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. You know what that website is. You know what that forum is. Go over there and check it out. You know what I'm saying? If you guys want to get further into the lore of it. I think the third video, I'll talk about all this as a whole. I'll break down certain stuff on what I feel like I really want to point out, and we'll get a laugh out of it. As it pertains to this whole Kimberly situation, though, it was fun. It's a shame that someone had to get doxxed. It's a shame that the young lady in the actual picture herself, her account got stolen and her pictures was put out, and this whole slanderous thing about the escort. It's a shame that there was casualties. It's a shame, and it's a shame, especially for that to be wasted on Phil. This con could have been used on somebody else, somebody way more prestigious, and a lot of money probably could have been made out of it, which was probably the plan. I think what it was is this was one small part of something much, much bigger. Phil was merely just a stepping stone, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, essentially. But I would say from a YouTube standpoint, it was entertaining. It was fun. No one's staking their reputation on it. It was interesting. I gotta tell you, it was funny as hell. Seeing her tweets on Twitter shitting on Phil was hilarious. So it is what it was, and also her giving out shout outs to people and shit, other detractors. So that was kind of cool. That's the end of that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it was an interesting situation. It's a great way to start the year off. Phil wants a cease and desist because he's scared of what's going to come next, as he probably should be. Treat people well, and this shit won't happen. Now, let me end this video off because we're getting to the hour mark, and you really just heard me talking. It's been a long time since I've done just this. It's funny, Phil. I'm going to point this out in the next video. It's funny how you're willing to extend an olive branch out to the Detractor community. Where's John and Howard's olive branch? When are you going to make amends with them? Just something to think about. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News, always late, never breaking, unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Obviously. A GTG Network and Productions. See you guys for part 2. Detractor Ball Super. It's 2018 is gonna be a great year. I hope you guys stick with it. And yeah, check out D's channel. Like I say, he's doing great things over there. Holla at y'all later. Peace.